Hello, everyone. It's Thursday, May 18th. Welcome to your Day Weather Podcast, brought to you, as always, by Cowboy State Daily and also brought to you by WYDOT. I'm day weather meteorologist Don Watzel, filling in for Don Day. Well, much of the northern high plains and Rocky Mountain West did enjoy some warmer weather the past couple of days, thanks to a little bit of a low amplitude ridge anchored over the four corners. However, we are going to trend it cooler today before we gradually warm again through the weekend. A cold front is passing through Wyoming and Colorado in the central and northern high plains. It is going to bring scattered rain and thunderstorms to a large section of the western United States, including Wyoming, Colorado, southwest Kansas, and further south towards northern New Mexico and the Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. The northern high plains will then trend drier Friday and into the weekend, while areas of the southern plains remain wetter, and this does include southern and southeastern Colorado towards southwestern Kansas. Below average temperatures will be the norm for today and even into Friday, and then again, we will kind of even things out as we head into Saturday and Sunday, making for an overall pleasant weekend. Today's podcast is going to focus on the weather patterns and trends for the next 3 days, today, tomorrow, and for Saturday. And we're going to start with our upper level jet stream map. This is as of 6 o'clock this morning on a Thursday. And as you can see, we've got a building ridge, kind of a weak omega block pattern developing over the eastern Pacific, extending way north over British Columbia and Alberta. Here we have a Pacific trough that dropped over the central Canadian prairies and into the northern high plains, and it's descending southward, sending a cold front at the surface over much of the central and northern high plains, including Wyoming, the Colorado Front Range, Nebraska, and Kansas, also bringing scattered rain showers and some thunderstorms. Cooler air is associated with it, with this extended cold front and another elongated weak trough extending further south into Southern California and the Baja region. Off to the west in the Pacific, we have a colder and deeper trough digging. Could influence things as we head into next week, but first things first, fast forwarding 24 hours to about 6 a.m. on Friday based on the European model. We see this high pressure ridge kind of expanding further into the west coast and the Rocky Mountain West and northern high plains. Eventually, it's going to push this trough towards the Great Lakes and into the New England and Middle Atlantic states. Still going to have a cooler influence here at home around Wyoming and Colorado and the plains, but we are going to get a fetch of warmer Pacific air streaming eastward with the center of that high pressure ridge developing over northern California and northwest Nevada. Extending further into Saturday afternoon, this is about 6 p.m. Mountain Daylight Time on Saturday. We can see this ridge pretty much expanded over the central and western United States with a broad trough over the eastern half of the country. It's also being influenced by a subtropical ridge over Mexico and the southern Gulf Coast states. This is going to bring in that warmer air to the region and allow for more sunshine and temperatures getting back to near seasonal. And again, we have areas of low pressure here and some elongated troughs in the northern Canadian prairies and the Northwest Territories. That will keep the colder temps bottled up in the northern parts of the atmosphere through much of the weekend. Let's go ahead and kind of zoom in a little bit to the lower 48 as of this morning. This is the relative humidity map, a measure of how much moisture is in the air. And as you can see with this upper trough and extended cold front, we have a fairly decent fetch of moisture resting right over the Rocky Mountain West, and that's going to influence with some showers and widely scattered thunderstorms. Also have an area of low pressure off in British Columbia and a little bit of a trough that still extends over Baja, California. Fast forwarding 24 hours to Friday morning, we can see as this ridge builds, it's going to bring a drier air mass to northern areas of the country, also push that trough further into the Great Lakes. However, we do have some remnant troughs in the southern parts of the country and some moisture still kind of hanging around parts of Colorado, Kansas, and Oklahoma and Texas panhandles. While northern areas dry out a little bit, we are going to keep it a little wetter in these southern regions. And as we look ahead to Saturday afternoon, we are going to get that dirty ridge pattern to develop, which means that we have more stable air drifting overhead, but with little moisture and energy kind of still streaming in underneath it. we're still going to have a few chances for isolated showers and thunderstorms, first off in the Pacific Northwest and portions of the West Coast. Some of that activity will eventually stream eastward as the ridge begins to flatten by late Sunday and into early next week. Let's go ahead and zoom in a little further. 24-hour precipitation map based on the European model as of a 6 a.m. Mountain Time on Friday. We are expecting some easterly upslope winds to develop over eastern and southeast Wyoming, the Colorado Front Range, and further south towards the plains of western Kansas and the Arkansas and San Luis valleys of Colorado. Now, if this moisture pools along a stationary frontal boundary right along the I-25 corridor, we still anticipate periods of steady and even heavier rainfall at times, especially Thursday afternoon and Thursday night. Now, again, this is based on the European model. Our friends up in Canada and the American GFS model are still painting some higher precipitation mounts, heavier rainfall that might exceed an inch. It also might be supported by some developing thunderstorm activity, which by itself should not be severe, but if stronger storms do develop, I definitely can see some higher rainfall amounts over portions of the Colorado Front Range by Friday morning. Then as we zoom ahead into the weekend, this is Saturday morning. Friday itself looks to dry out over Montana, the Dakotas, and Nebraska and Wyoming, as well as extending further into Idaho and the Pacific Northwest. And as we talked about those troughs that are kind of hanging around for dear life over the southern states, we're still going to see periods of moisture, possibly some heavy rains at times over the New Mexico plains. Also, some rainfall and scattered thunderstorms across the central Colorado mountains and valleys. And the vast majority of this should be rainfall. Highest mountain peaks, talking maybe even 11, 12,000 feet, could see some temps cold enough for some scattered snowfall. Sunday morning, the 24-hour forecast map from Saturday morning to Sunday morning shows some additional precip over central and southern Colorado and into New Mexico. And as we talked about, some dirty ridging going on, mainly dry over most areas, but some pockets of light rainfall will be possible over sections of Montana, extreme northern Wyoming, parts of northern Nevada and California, Oregon, and Washington in the Pacific Northwest. With the precipitation trends over the next 3 days or so, it'll also have an influence on our temperatures. This is the temperature anomaly map as of about 6 p.m. This afternoon on Thursday. And as you can see, with the scattered shower and thunderstorm activity, it'll influence our temps mainly about 5 to 10 degrees below average over this swath right here. Areas that get a little less precip will have temperatures near seasonal. And here in the west and northwest, a lot warmer, 10, 15, 20 degrees above average. And the reason for this difference is the West Coast and Pacific Northwest is getting a southerly influence from that building ridge, and it's pushing a lot of milder Pacific air and also some air from the desert Southwest northward. Let's go ahead and zoom into Friday afternoon at 6 p.m. Friday based on the European model. Still looking at some below average temperatures, 10 degrees or so where the heavier rainfall will occur. We're starting to even things out over the plains of Wyoming and the Dakotas, but still trending seasonal or slightly below. And we got a little evection of that warmer air spreading eastward to end the work week. As we look ahead to 6 p.m. on Saturday, and that high pressure builds and we get more sunshine, the temperatures will respond in kind, getting about to 5 to 10 degrees above average over the northern states, central and southern states where we'll still see some precip, going to keep it trending cooler, pockets of much colder air over portions of New Mexico and portions of the Texas Panhandle and the Texas Plains. Thanks for listening and watching, everyone. Have yourself a great Thursday. We'll talk to you again tomorrow.